This is a photograph of President Abraham Lincoln's funeral procession in 1865, a somber day in American history. This picture alone, without any context, is historically significant as it's one of the few we have of this event. But there's a 6-year-old boy hanging out of this window watching. You can barely tell it's a person because the image is so grainy. He seems so insignificant and unimportant in the history right below him, and no doubt this part of the photo is ignored by most. However, this boy would make his own history. His name is Theodore Roosevelt, and he would become the 26th President of the United States, the first president to fly in an airplane. Theodore Roosevelt's flight was in 1910, a year after he left office. It wouldn't be until the 30s a concept of a presidential aircraft began. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt was the first sitting president to fly. In 1943, he used the commercial Boeing 314 Clipper, a large seaplane, to travel to the Casablanca Conference during the Second World War. This marked the beginning of presidential air travel. Soon after, the U.S. military began adapting planes specifically for presidential use. Converting a Douglas C-54 Skymaster, nicknamed the Sacred Cow, was built for Roosevelt in 1945. It included a private bathroom, a conference room, and a lift to accommodate his wheelchair. President Harry S. Truman inherited the Sacred Cow, but soon commissioned a VC-118 Liftmaster, a modified version of the C-118. He named it Independence after his hometown in Missouri. It featured a bald eagle painted on the nose and a more spacious, comfortable interior. During the Eisenhower administration, the Lockheed C-121 Constellation series entered service. Eisenhower used Columbine 2 and Columbine 3 as his primary aircraft. These planes were the first to implement the Air Force One call sign to avoid confusion with air traffic. It's important to note that Air Force One is the official air traffic control call sign for any United States Air Force plane flying the president, and it's not a specific airplane. The election of President John F. Kennedy ushered in the jet age for Air Force One. In 1962, a Boeing VC-137C, which was a modified 707-320B, was introduced. The aircraft was custom designed with input from First Lady Jackie Kennedy, incorporating elegant interiors and a distinctive blue and white livery. This livery, created by designer Raymond Loewy, remains the Air Force One color scheme today. The plane, Special Air Mission, abbreviated as SAM, 26,000, carried President John F. Kennedy's body back to Washington, D.C. after his assassination in Dallas in 1963, and President Lyndon B. Johnson was also sworn in on board this aircraft. It continued service under President Lyndon B. Johnson and Richard Nixon, witnessing key moments like Johnson's visit to Vietnam and Nixon's groundbreaking trip to China in 1972. 1972 also saw the introduction of SAM 27000, a second Boeing 707 which became the primary aircraft for presidential travel after SAM 26000. SAM 27000 flew Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, and Bill Clinton. SAM 27000 served until 2001, and SAM 26000 was retired in 1998. By the late 1970s, the increasing demands of the presidency required a larger, more capable aircraft. Under President Nixon, the first Boeing 747s were considered to become Air Force One, and by 1990, during the presidency of H.W. Bush, 2 Boeing VC-25As were introduced, and they still remain in service today. These planes are tail number 28,000 and 29,000, and they represent the pinnacle of aviation technology. The VC-25A, a modified Boeing 747-200B, is equipped with state-of-the-art features that make it a mobile command center. It has secured communication systems that allow the president to govern effectively from the sky, along with advanced defense measures such as electronic jamming, missile diverting flares, and shielding against electromagnetic pulses. The inside accommodations include a presidential suite, medical facilities, conference rooms, and seating for staff, press, and guests. These planes have transported every president from George H.W. Bush to Joe Biden and will continue serving during the second Trump administration. A new generation of Air Force One is on the way with the VC-25B based on the Boeing 747-8I, and it's set to replace the aging VC-25As. These aircraft will offer a greater range, enhanced fuel efficiency, and more cutting-edge technology. The VC-25B program is retrofitting 2 Boeing 747-8 aircraft that were originally built for Russian airline Transaero, which went bankrupt in 2015 before the planes could ever be delivered. Boeing had manufactured these planes but left them in storage after the airline's collapse. In 2017, the United States Air Force purchased these unused planes at a discounted price. The 747-8s are now being extensively modified to meet the unique requirements of Air Force One. But like every other Boeing program at this point, the VC-25B is behind schedule and won't take its first flight until 2026, after a proposed 2024 delivery when these planes were first ordered. In exploring options to replace the aging VC-25A, the United States Air Force considered several aircraft actually, including versions of smaller jets like the 767 and a military-spec version of the Boeing 787. These aircraft were evaluated for their size, range, and adaptability to the unique requirements of the presidential transport plane. However, despite these alternatives, the Boeing 747 ultimately stood out as the best option, thanks to its larger range, size, and greater ability to incorporate the necessary advanced technologies and security systems. And that brings us to today. Like I mentioned previously, we're still waiting on the delivery of the VC-25B, but let me know what you think about Air Force One. What's your favorite plane that served as Air Force One, and any other thoughts, including the livery. Thank you all very much for watching. Here are the shoutouts from last week's video. I look forward to seeing you in next week's video. Thank you all again so much for watching. I'm JP from JP's Aviation. Goodbye.